Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing why someone ends a relationship, things to consider. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing why someone ends a relationship, things to consider. So if you have been dumped, you are likely wondering why and how this has happened. Ultimately, a relationship is ended due to a loss of romantic emotional attraction. But there are things to consider connected to this, and in today's podcast I'm going to discuss 3 elements of why someone might have lost attraction and ended a relationship. So let's get straight into this, and number 1 is different types of love. So it's so important to understand that there are different types of love. If you are considering love between you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your son, your daughter, this is unconditional love. But when we consider romantic love, this is not unconditional love. Now, this might seem a shock. This might be something that you almost don't believe. But trust me when I tell you that romantic relationships are not unconditional love. You can't earn credit in a romantic relationship. You can't behave in a positive, romantic, dating mode style way for 6 months and think, you know what, I've earned enough credit here, I can now take my foot off the gas. You can't do that, you will get dumped. You can't be married to somebody for 30 years and think, look, I've done this now, this is completed, I've achieved my goals, we've been married 30 years. There is no way that they're going to end this now, so I don't have to put in the effort that I once did. If you don't put in the effort, you will get dumped whether you've been together 3 months, 3 years, or 30 years. So let's just look at this once more to really understand exactly what I'm trying to get across here. The love between you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your son, your daughter, this is unconditional love. This is the type of love where even if things aren't on the right path, you will probably be able to get through it most of the time. But when we consider romantic love, this is not unconditional love. If you don't remain in dating mode, if you don't date your partner, if you don't flirt with your partner, if you don't behave in a romantic way with your partner, then you will get dumped, whether you've been together 3 months, 3 years, or 30 years. You can't earn credit. You can't think to yourself, look, it's fine now to be complacent. I don't have to try as hard anymore. We've been together so long. It will be okay. It won't be okay. You will get dumped. If you want to be platonic friends with somebody, then you treat them in a platonic way. If you want to be romantic with somebody, then you treat them in a romantic way. You remain in dating mode. You behave in a way appropriate for a romantic relationship. So whether this is your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your husband or your wife, it doesn't matter what stage you're at. You need to put in the effort. You need to date your partner. You need to make them feel special, and you need to behave in a way which connects with what you want to achieve. If you want this person to be in a romantic relationship with you, you must remain in dating mode. You must date. You must flirt. You must behave in an attractive way. If you want to be platonic with somebody, you behave in a platonic way. But if you behave in a platonic way with somebody you are married to, somebody you're dating, then guess what? They are not going to be feeling this connection for much longer, and they will likely dump you once this level of attraction they feel drops to a certain low point. So, just to reiterate, there are different types of love, and romantic love is not unconditional. You can't earn credit, you can't cash it in later, it must be an ongoing process. Please don't be complacent. Complacency kills relationships. It kills them after 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, 50 years. Complacency kills relationships. Don't be complacent. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about why someone ends a relationship, things to consider. And point number 2 is throwaway culture. So we live in a society now which has a throwaway culture. Let's look at society from 100 years ago. Back then, people built things to last, whether this was a product, an object, or a relationship. People would work on their relationship more. People would really try to move forward with their relationship through thick and thin. This throwaway culture we have now transcends everything, whether or not it's to do with our mobile phone, whether or not it's to do with our bike, whether it's not to do with our clothes, and whether or not it's to do with our relationships. We are much more likely to throw things away now and look for something new. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that this is a bad situation for relationships, so just bear with me here. Here is the question, here is the theory, here is something to really consider. Should people put up with bad relationships? You know, you might think back to yourself and think, okay, in my grandparents' day, people worked on their relationship. They would get married and they would stay married forever. But is that the right thing to do if they are not happy? You know, you could be in a situation where two people have been married for 30 years, but they haven't been intimate for 20 years. Is that good? Is that healthy? Is that something that they should both be accepting just because they've got married? Okay, I'm not here to say what's right and what's wrong. But when we consider throwaway culture, we automatically think this is a negative, this is a bad thing. But some people would say the opposite. Some people would say that nowadays, people will not put up with bad relationships. Nowadays, people will have a relationship, and if it's not fulfilling, they will find one that is, because why should anybody live their life feeling unfulfilled and unsatisfied? Again, I'm not going to make judgment. I'm not going to say which I think is right and which I think is wrong. Everybody can come to their own conclusion, but we have one side of people who believe that people should be working on relationships more and really trying to work through them, whether or not they're feeling satisfied. And we have another group of people who believe that if things aren't working, you should end it and find somebody who you connect with there. Of course, everything evolves. You know, you might connect well originally after 1 month, 1 year, 10 years even, but maybe going further forward, you no longer connect. Should you work through this? Or should you find somebody who connects with you now? This is for you to decide. This is just something to think about. Additionally, we have to consider whether or not you think this is right or this is wrong. This is the reality. The divorce rate is the highest it's ever been. Breakups are taking place much more frequently. So whichever side of the argument you're on, the reality is that throwaway culture has seeped into relationships. It's not just about if your bike breaks down, you go and get yourself a new bike instead of fixing it. Nowadays, if your relationship is starting to stutter, people will end a relationship, people will dump their partner, and they will find somebody that they believe will satisfy them better than their partner did, better than their ex now did. So again, this is for you to consider. I'm just giving you the thought-provoking things to think about, to consider, and move forward with your day, wondering what you think. It's up to you, but this is the reality. Throwaway culture is probably here to stay. So whether or not you believe in it, you need to be prepared and make sure you are not complacent. So now let's move into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about why someone ends a relationship, things to consider. And point number 3 is we need to grow. Everybody needs to grow. I would even argue that if you are stagnating, in essence, you are growing backwards. So in reality, we are always growing. But are we growing in the same direction? I hinted at this in point number 2. We might be correct for each other when we first meet. We might be a really good match after a year. But if we don't grow in the same direction, if we grow in different directions, if one of us grows forwards and one of us stagnates and even moves backwards, are we right for each other anymore? I would suggest that we need to grow. We have to grow and we have to develop. And we shouldn't begrudge somebody if they move in a different direction to us, as much as it may hurt. We must understand that the relationship we had was real, the love we felt was real, but right now, we no longer connect. If you met now for the first time, you wouldn't connect. So is that bad? Is that wrong? Or is that life? Again, things for you to think about. But these are the types of reasons as for why people lose romantic emotional attraction. This could have been the reason why ultimately you was dumped. If your former partner, if your dumper, if your ex got to a position where they felt that their life was going one way, your life was going another, this is when they would likely lose romantic emotional attraction. And when it hits the necessary low point, this is when they end the relationship. Again, I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. I'm here to ask you what you think. Please let me know in the YouTube comments what you believe is right, what you believe is wrong on all of the points I've mentioned in today's podcast. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you don't listen to my podcast on YouTube, because you might be listening to them on a different podcasting platform, please check out my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called Vincent Boss, and I would really love you to join me on my YouTube channel, subscribing, ring of the bell for notifications, because I have more content on my YouTube channel than I do on the other podcasting platforms. You will see my community tab posts, amongst other things. So if you're listening on other platforms, please also join me on YouTube. So, in essence, I've given you 3 points to consider today. I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Let me know what you feel and whether you believe this is why your ex lost romantic emotional attraction for you, and what you have learned about what you can do in the future. Whether or not you get your ex back, whether or not you meet somebody new, you need to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes again, so that you can have a positive and more fulfilling future the next time around when you are in love. This could be with your ex, this could be with somebody new, but if and when it happens, you need to be ready. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent Bo, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent Bo got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.